The Man Who Gave Birth, The Painful Journey of Thomas Beatie. In a quiet town in Bend, Oregon, history was quietly made. But behind the headlines, behind the viral photos and global news, was a story of pain, confusion, judgment, and courage. This is the sorrowful and groundbreaking story of Thomas Beatie, the first married man in recorded history to give birth. Thomas Beatie was born in 1974 in Honolulu, Hawaii, as a girl. Assigned female at birth, he was originally named Tracy. Growing up, Thomas always felt different. He didn't quite fit into the identity the world had given him. He battled inner turmoil for years, haunted by a deep truth no one seemed ready to accept. At just 10 years old, he knew he wasn't who people thought he was. But in a world that didn't understand gender identity, Thomas kept quiet. He hid behind smiles, behind clothes that didn't feel like him, behind expectations that felt more like chains than choices. Years later, Thomas began his gender transition. He started hormone therapy in his 20s, grew facial hair, deepened his voice. He was becoming who he always knew he was. Eventually, he underwent top surgery, removing his breasts and legally changing his gender marker from female to male. And then, he met Nancy, the love of his life. They got married and began dreaming of building a family. But Nancy couldn't have children. And Thomas, though a man, still had his female reproductive organs. In a heart-wrenching and courageous decision, Thomas chose to carry their child. The pregnancy that shocked the world. On June 29, 2008, Thomas Beatie made history. He gave birth to a healthy baby girl, Susan. The world erupted. Media flooded his life. Headlines screamed. Please subscribe to the channel for more great videos. Pregnant man. Medical marvel or moral controversy? What is happening to society? But behind the flashing cameras and media frenzy, Thomas was simply a man who loved his wife and wanted to start a family. A man who used his body, against all odds, to give life. The backlash. Instead of support, Thomas and his family faced hate. He received death threats, was mocked in tabloids, and questioned relentlessly by people who couldn't comprehend his reality. Even hospitals hesitated to treat him. Doctors were confused. Nurses stared. People whispered. He once said in an interview, "I'm a person, and I have the right to have a biological child." But society wasn't ready for his kind of bravery. A father, a fighter. Thomas didn't just stop with one child. He went on to have 3 children, each time enduring not only the physical toll of pregnancy, but the emotional burden of public judgment. He would later divorce Nancy. It was a quiet ending to what had started as a loud, historical love story. He found new love again, eventually marrying his second wife Amber and continuing to raise his children in a world still full of questions. Legacy and reflection. Today, Thomas Beatie is more than just the man who gave birth. He's a voice for transparency. He's a speaker, an advocate, a fighter. But his story is still filled with sorrow, not because of who he is, but because of how the world treated him for being exactly that. He once said, "I see pregnancy as a process, not a gendered act. It's about creating life, and I wanted to be a father who gave that life." To many, Thomas Beatie's story is unusual. But to those who listen, it's a story of love, loss, strength, and the will to be true to oneself, no matter the cost. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing for more true-life tales that show both the cruelty of the world and the unstoppable strength of the human spirit. Rest in hope, Thomas. You changed the world forever.